Discover the incredible life-changing truth that will make you embrace your true self forever. In the heart of Maplewood, a quiet Midwestern town where the vast cornfields danced in the summer breeze, stood a small auto repair shop owned by Jake Thompson. Once proud and bustling, the shop now felt more like an echo of its former self. Jake, 32 and weary, faced a crossroads in his life that threatened to shatter what he held most dear. The air was thick with tension, like the calm before a storm. Unyielding and humble, he toiled under the weight of his father's expectations, the proud war veteran whose spirit seemed to linger in every oily groove of the wrench. But as the bass rumble of machinery faded into the hum of modernity looming just beyond town borders, Maplewood was at a tipping point. A corporation had set its sights on their tight-knit community, promising shiny storefronts and new jobs at the cost of the very shops that had built their identities. Jake felt torn. The town he loved was splitting at the seams. Half the folks clung to their roots, desperate to preserve their legacy, while others reached for the glimmering prospects of corporate life. As Jake stared at the weathered sign hanging above the shop, the faded letters read, Thompson's Auto Repair, he felt the sting of doubt. What if he wasn't good enough? As the town debated the fate of their beloved businesses, whispers of skepticism followed him like shadows. He wanted to stand strong, to rally his friends and family, but doubt seeped in, tightening its grip around his chest. In a moment of desperation, he organized a fundraiser, pouring every ounce of hope into the event. The sun set low, casting a golden glow as folks gathered with hopeful faces and cautious hearts. He believed in the power of unity, the spirit of their family values, a legacy that reached deep into their past. But as the hours dragged on and chairs remained empty, disappointment pricked at his spirit. He felt the crushing weight of inadequacy. Hadn't his father taught him to persevere, to fight for what mattered? Now he was left questioning whether he was worthy of carrying forth the Thompson name. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. The night weighed heavy on Jake's heart, but from the depths of that turmoil came a buried resolve. He realized he couldn't let the town's spirit be bulldozed over by concrete and glass. It wasn't just about saving the shop. It was about igniting the fire of community within each person who felt lost in this change. Tension electrified the air, and he felt a spark of determination ignite in him. As Jake lifted his chin and squared his shoulders, he knew he was about to step into uncharted territory. Would he be their voice united and powerful, or would he let fear dictate his fate? The dust settled on his empire of grease and steel, leaving him at the brink of a choice. As whispers of optimism threaded into the night, Jake could see that hope was not just for him. It was a collective psalm yearning to be sung. Would he seize this moment to lead, or fade like the remnants of yesterday? The town's heart awaited his decision, leaving everyone breathless with anticipation. The following morning, a new light painted the town of Maplewood in shades of gold. As the sun broke through the horizon, so did a new sense of purpose within Jake. He watched from the shop window as the dew-kissed grass shimmered, and the familiar sound of the birds chirping pulled him out of his reverie. It was a brand new day, and along with it came an opportunity he could not ignore. Jake lingered in the doorway of his shop, inhaling the sweet scent of freshly baked bread wafting from the bakery across the street. The aroma stirred something deep inside him, a reminder of cozy mornings with his parents, where laughter and warmth filled the kitchen. That feeling, comfort, security, belonging, was what he wanted to preserve for his town. He turned back to the shop, heart pounding. If he could rally that sense of community back, maybe people would fight for their town's heart along with him. He rushed to get organized, jotting down ideas on scraps of paper. A community potluck. A talent show. Maybe even a parade. Anything that could bring folks together. As the ideas flowed, so did the flicker of hope. He envisioned old friends reuniting, neighbors mingling, and laughter echoing through the streets, all bonded by the wrenches they turned and the memories they shared. This was the spirit he longed to revive. With newfound determination, he set out on foot, visiting every business owner whose livelihood hung in the balance. "It's time we unite," he urged. "Our town is worth saving." He felt the warmth of enthusiasm build as he shared his vision. One after another, they began to nod, tears glistening in their eyes, seeing a glimpse of what could be if they fought together. "I'll host the first event in 2 weeks," Jake declared. "Let us make it a celebration of who we are. We'll show the world what Maplewood stands for." Excitement flooded the shop floor as his friends joined in with cheers. Each shout cascaded into another, building the momentum like a roaring engine, fierce and alive. As he made his way back to the shop, Jake's heart soared. Yet creeping anxiety tugged at him. Would it really work? Could he conjure the spirit of togetherness he desperately sought? Questions lingered in his mind, but he steeled himself against the doubt, knowing that this was just the start of something bigger than him. Over the next several days, Jake worked tirelessly alongside volunteers. Posters were hung, flyers were printed, and social media buzzed with excitement. Maplewood was abuzz. Shop windows proudly declared, "Save our town!" and laughter filled the air as children helped paint colorful signs. The community was uniting, and with every shared laugh, Jake felt lighter, the weight of inadequacy slowly dissipating. But as the day of the potluck drew near, a shadow cast over his fervor. Whispers of dissent lingered still. There were still folks who believed corporate convenience was the answer. Some doubted, shaking their heads at him, warning him he was fighting a losing battle. "Why bother?" they'd say. "It's inevitable." He felt both a pang of anger and an echo of his father's voice, strong and steady. "You fight until your last breath, Jake. You hold on to what you love." The reminder intensified his resolve, but he also felt the pressing weight of uncertainty. Not everyone would stand with him. What if he couldn't sway them? What if the night ended in disappointment once again? In the quiet before the storm of the potluck, with smiles on the faces of his friends and flashbacks of his father flickering in his mind, Jake knew he was at the edge of something monumental. Was he prepared for the battle ahead? With his heart racing, he took a deep breath as he looked out towards the town square. The sound of muffled conversations and the clinking of utensils serenaded the evening air, and as the sun slipped below the horizon, casting the world in dusky shadows, Jake felt a thick tension in his chest, a mix of hope and fear. The moment he had waited for was finally here, but would it bring them together or shatter his resolve? The answer loomed just over the horizon. Jake stood at the edge of the town square, clutching a small white card with neat handwriting listing the evening's schedule. He took a deep breath, the scent of fried chicken and cornbread wafting through the air, mingling with the chatter of families arriving. Everywhere he looked, he saw familiar faces, neighbors whose stories he knew by heart. He felt both tension and excitement in the crowd as laughter mingled with the soft sound of a guitar strumming nearby. The picnic tables were laden with dishes brought from homes around Maplewood, dishes that held memories, spices, and flavors born from generations of love. He imagined each spoonful offering a taste of the shared lives woven into their community. "Hey, Jake!" A cheerful voice broke through his thoughts. It was Sarah from the florist. She waved a vibrant bouquet of wildflowers, their colors vivid in the twilight. "Can't wait to see what you have planned." "Thanks, Sarah. Just trying to do my part." Despite his attempts to hide it, Jake felt a surge of pride swell within him. As guests trickled in, Jake stood at the podium, prepared for the moment to deliver his opening speech. His palms were sweaty, and his heart raced. Suddenly, he was engulfed in the thought that vulnerable souls were counting on him. He thought about those who had come to support this dream and those who had turned their backs. He remembered the doubt that shadowed him in silence. Would he let them down? With a flutter of nerves, he stepped up to the microphone, the crowd buzzing in anticipation. "Thank you all for being here tonight." His voice trembled, but he pressed on. "Maplewood isn't just a town, it's our home. We've been through tough times, but we've always risen together. Tonight, we celebrate not what we've lost, but what we can still build together." Cheers erupted from the audience, their enthusiasm igniting Jake's spirit. With every word, the weight on him lifted, and the love of this community set a spark in his heart. Let us remember our roots, let's share our stories, and let us make some new memories. This potluck is just the beginning. As people began to mingle and share their dishes, he noticed a small group lingering at the edge of the festivities, their faces etched with uncertainty. Jake felt an urge to reach out. He walked over to them, a friendly smile stretching across his face. "Hey, you guys! What brings you out tonight?" They shifted uncomfortably, mumbling excuse after excuse. Most had come out of obligation rather than interest, unsure if they belonged. Yet he also sensed a spark of curiosity beneath their hesitations. He shared stories of his childhood, tales of resilience passed down from his parents, and soon laughter began to replace their doubts. He noticed grins splitting their faces as the tension melted away, but even as he built connections here, shadows loomed. Observers of discontent stood off to the side, arms crossed, shaking their heads. They were still critical, echoing the refrain of inevitability, whispering a lingering disbelief in what Jake positioned as hope. His chest tightened again, heart pounding. Could he really change minds? Could he make them feel what he felt, the spirit that thrived within this town? Was it enough just to bring people together? He pushed those thoughts aside and without knowing, his fingers found the edge of his father's framed photograph in his pocket. "Hold on to what you love." The words floated in his mind like a lifeline. The evening unfolded, stories shared like the dishes that graced the tables. But even amidst the laughter, doubt like a silent specter still lurked. Just when Jake thought he couldn't fight the heaviness anymore, he heard a voice call out through the noise. "Next up, we've got an open mic. Who wants to share a story?" His heart skipped, and a knot of excitement twisted within him. This was a moment to turn the tide, a chance to embrace that sense of community he dreamed of. Jake felt his gaze shift to the doubt-laden faces in the crowd. Would they step forward? Or would they stay behind, watching, waiting for someone else to take the leap? He felt as if the weight of everyone's hopes now rested with him. The next steps mattered. Did hope have enough strength? The spotlight was on. The story of Maplewood was ready to be told. Would they let their voices be heard? As the words of the open mic invitation hung in the air, Jake's heart raced. The music faded into the background, and the voices of laughter turned into an echo. He scanned the crowd, searching not just for faces he recognized but for the flicker of willingness to share. He knew that courage thrived in connection, and he hoped the flicker would ignite. A moment passed. The tension was heavy. He suddenly craved movement from the crowd, a ripple of brave souls ready to speak. Just then, a figure broke away from the shadows. It was Liz, the shy librarian. She clutched a small paper in her hands, her eyes darting toward Jake, uncertainty etched across her face. "Go on, Liz!" Someone cheered from the back. The cheer was met with a mixture of support and curiosity. Liz approached the mic, and Jake felt a surge of relief. She wasn't an obvious choice. Her voice was soft and timid, but he believed in the stories hidden beneath quiet surfaces. Hi," she said, taking a breath to steady herself. The crowd hushed, eager to listen. "I've lived in Maplewood my whole life, and I've always loved it here." She paused, the mic trembling slightly in her hand. "But I've also felt invisible. Do my stories matter?" Jake's heart thudded at her words. He wanted to shout that they did, that everyone's stories mattered. But he stayed silent, letting her share what weighed on her. "I never felt brave enough to join in. But tonight, seeing everyone together, it just clicked." The crowd leaned in, hanging on to her every word. "I wrote this poem about our town. It's special to me, so, here goes." In the glow of the light, Liz unfolded her paper. Her voice was raw and shaky, but as she recited the words, they danced with the rhythms of life in Maplewood, the laughter of children, the retirement parties, the community meetings, and yes, even the losses. The words painted pictures in the minds of those listening, and Jake could feel the connection tighten, threading together lives that had seemed disconnected moments before. When she finished, silence enveloped them before a round of applause erupted, warm and uplifting. It felt like the whole town was exhaling, embracing Liz's bravery. The cheer that followed was not just for her, it was for the courage that echoes through the hearts of every person present, waiting to be awoken. Jake stepped forward, compelled to amplify the moment. That's it. That's what we need. His voice rang with fervor. Stories create our bonds. Who's next? Before he could even breathe, several hands shot up like weeds breaking through asphalt. One after another, voices echoed across the square, shining with authenticity. A retired teacher recounted the joys of guiding young minds, while a farmer shared the pride of his harvest. Laughter erupted when a single dad spoke about the challenges and praises of parenting. Jake watched in awe, his heart swelling with gratitude and excitement. But out of the corner of his eye, he spotted the group lingering in doubt. They remained apart, arms crossed, glances cast toward the ground as if waiting for permission. Instead of retreating, Jake moved closer to them, pulling the spotlight alongside him. Hey, I see you. This is your moment too. Their faces revealed a mix of uncertainty and intrigue. One man, tall with a worn face, shifted from foot to foot, standing at the threshold between isolation and connection. What do you want to share? Jake encouraged, piercing through the hesitation. In that moment, the crowd turned from listening to waiting. The energy was electric. Would the man step forward? Or would fear keep him shackled? Jake's pulse raced, feeling the weight of expectation. The hope of the entire town swirled in the air. The evening was alive, ripe with potential. With each new story, old wounds began to heal. But still, questions lingered. Could they come back together as a whole? And even so, what was still left unspoken among those who hesitated? As Jake looked toward the uncertain group, he took a deep breath. The real journey of Maplewood was just beginning. Would these voices emerge from the shadows and join in creating a harmony they all longed for? The tall man shifted again, his brow furrowed in concentration. This time, he stepped closer, drawn by the warmth of the crowd and the undeniable push from Jake. For a moment, Jake thought he'd say something, anything, but the man intervened just as silence deepened, and the anticipation held them all captive. I'm not much of a speaker, he finally said, his voice low and rough around the edges. But I've got something to say. Jake felt a thrill run up his spine. Here it was, the spark igniting deeper truths, hidden under the surface. He took a step back, giving the man space, encouraging him not just with words but with the warmth of his gaze. Bobby, the man said, introducing himself. I was born here, raised here, but I've spent most of my life running away. He glanced at the crowd, then looked back at his feet, shame flickering across his face like a dimming light. I thought leaving would take me somewhere better. Somewhere that would matter. A murmur of interest spread through the audience. They leaned closer, captivated. I lost touch with my roots. I let life pull me and then push back harder. He paused, swallowing hard. But sometimes, it takes losing everything to realize what you truly had. His voice steadied, the tremor of vulnerability transforming into a rush of emotion. I came back to Maplewood just last year. To fix things, to find what I thought I had lost. And it was harder than I ever imagined. Jake held his breath. Was this man about to shed light on the very things everybody else feared to mention? I found memories in every corner of this town. Old friends I let slip through my fingers. And I heard stories that filled the gaps of my years. His gaze flickered to Liz, who had stepped back in surprise, yet her expression glimmered with encouragement. And I learned, his breath hitched, the truth resonating deeper now. That you don't have to be grand to be significant. Every story matters. Every moment is a gift. Applause broke out, echoing his words back to him like a blessing. For the first time that night, Bobby smiled, a genuine light breaking through the armor of regret. He stepped away from the mic, his heart visibly lighter. Then, a ripple moved through the crowd again. Another young woman, her face bright with defiance, broke in. I can't stop myself. She laughed, catching everyone off guard. I've been writing about all of you. Jake felt the energy shift, like a breeze stirring fresh leaves. The crowd buzzed with excitement as she continued, I'm a newbie poet, but this town deserves more than pipe dreams. We need to capture our history. Will you help me? There it was, a spark of connection. Voices woven together, creating a tapestry of experience. Jake's heart soared as hands shot up in response, each person eager to join the movement. As they began exchanging ideas on how to weave their stories into a collective narrative, Jake stood back, watching the true essence of Maplewood unfold. Hope lit each face around him. But then, a figure stepped forward from the shadows again. It was an older woman, her face lined with worry. "What if we share and nobody listens?" she asked, vulnerability apparent in her tone. "What if sharing only opens old wounds?" Jake felt a chill run through the atmosphere. The weight of her words hung heavily, testing the lightness built, casting shadows over the night. The moment hung suspended, and the crowd stilled, waiting for an answer, for assurance. Jake felt it too, the fear creeping at the edges of their brave little oasis. Would they truly find healing and create a safe space to share their pain? As silence enveloped them, Jake knew that this gathering had the chance to evolve into something much deeper than a simple open mic night. He glanced at Liz, Bobby, the excited young woman, and the lingering doubt in the older woman's eyes. "Sometimes," he began, his voice teetering between courage and doubt, "confronting our stories is the first step to reclaiming who we are. Would this be the night that would change Maplewood forever? Or would the fears of the past drown out the voices longing to be heard?" The crowd held its breath, the air thick with anticipation. Jake's heart raced, caught in a whirlpool of emotions. Every face reflected a mixture of hope and doubt, a collective pulse that echoed through the night. He felt a part of something bigger, yet the weight of the older woman's words lingered, casting a shadow over the bright light of truth Bobby had just ignited. "People are afraid," Jake continued, his voice gaining strength as he spoke. "It's hard to bare your soul when the fear of judgment looms." He looked around the gathering, making eye contact with Liz first, then sweeping over the others. "But deep down, we all want to be brave. We want to connect." Bobby stepped back, leaning against the makeshift stage, his expression thoughtful now, a newfound understanding flickering in his eyes. Jake could sense he'd sparked something within him, a fire that had laid dormant for so long. The young woman raised her hand again, her excitement bubbling over. "What if we write letters? Letters to ourselves, our pasts, to the people we love? We can read them aloud." She bit her lip with anticipation, looking around the crowd for validation. "Yes," someone from the back shouted, prompting a ripple of agreement throughout the audience. Jake felt a surge of excitement. "That's it. Let us write down our fear, our pain, and our dreams. This is how we create a safe space. We put our stories on paper, where they can transform." Applause erupted once more, a chorus of enthusiastic echoes, drowning out the earlier doubts. The older woman who had spoken before began to nod slowly, her brows unknitting as a look of contemplation crossed her face. As everyone began to chat excitedly, voices overlapping, Jake caught Liz's gaze. Her eyes sparkled, reflecting a blend of hope and determination. "Do you think we can really do this?" she whispered, her tone both curious and uncertain. "We can. If they're willing to be brave," Jake replied, feeling the current of energy swell around him. "Hey, remember stories that were passed down from generations?" Bobby chimed in, his voice resonating with conviction. "How about we share those too? They're about more than just us, some held together our families, our community." "Exactly." Jake felt his coordination with Bobby growing. "Those stories breathe life. They build the bridge from past to present. It's a way to teach, heal. We all need those tales." Amid loud conversations, Liz squeezed Jake's hand, her warmth anchoring him. "We could even have a wall of voices. People can write their stories and pin them up as a reminder that they matter." "Let us do it!" Jake shouted, his excitement infectious. He realized that the older woman had retreated to the back of the gathering, a soft smile now illuminating her face. Hope had replaced doubt, even if just for a moment. Just when the crowd seemed to be thriving, a sudden crash of thunder echoed in the distance, cutting through the night's joyful chatter. The sky darkened suddenly, Heavy clouds rolling in as raindrops began to fall, each drop a gentle reminder of the unpredictable nature of life. Jake's heart pounded as he watched the rapid shift. Would this night end with a sudden storm, washing away their hopes and momentum? Or would they stand together, weathering whatever came next, fighting for their voices to be heard? Facing the crowd again, he felt a swell of determination. Let us embrace this storm, folks. Write it out. Let us see how we can turn this moment into something unforgettable. With pen and paper suddenly at hand, the crowd began to gather closer, hearts aligned, united in their mission. They began to write, not caring about what the rain meant, what it brought or took away. As ideas swirled and inspiration took flight, Jake knew this night held a power they hadn't yet realized. Was this the moment they'd all been waiting for, the one that would pave the way for their lives to change? Would the storm outside be a catalyst for deeper connections? As the rain began to pour harder, Jake looked out at the crowd, his breath catching as he felt a change stirring within him, an undeniable shift towards something greater. What lies ahead as their stories begin to intertwine? Rain fell steadily, each droplet hitting the ground like a heartbeat of the night. The smell of wet earth filled the air, mingling with the scent of warm bodies huddled together. The steady rhythm of rain seemed to drum in time with Jake's excitement and resolve. He glanced over at the crowd, watching as people wrote with fervor, pouring their hearts onto paper. Each page turned into a window into their souls. Liz stood beside him, her brow furrowed in concentration. I can't think of where to start, she confessed, her voice barely rising above the sound of raindrops. He could see the uncertainty lingering in her eyes. Just let it flow, he encouraged, his own pen moving swiftly across the page. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. He turned to watch her as she pushed strands of wet hair behind her ear, determination igniting her features. Around them, others began to read their letters aloud, each voice cutting through the storm. A man stepped forward, his hands trembling as he held the paper up. This is to my father, he began, his voice strong yet choked with emotion. The crowd quieted, all ears attuned to his story. I've carried so much anger for so long. It's time to let it go. As he spoke, the air hung thick with emotion. Jake felt the power of vulnerability resonating in the shared space. Next, a woman with tears streaking her cheeks read her letter to a lost love. She painted their time together with words of joy and heartache, and the crowd found themselves in her story. Warmth spread through Jake as he realized how these snippets of life tied them all together. See? He whispered to Liz, who had finally found the courage to write. It's not about the storm. It's about what we build amidst it. Nodding, she scribbled fiercely, and Jake caught a glimpse of her words, confessions of fear, dreams veiled by doubt. With each stroke of her pen, she shed layers of her guarded heart, determined to share her truth. As the night wore on, the letters echoed like a choir, some joyful, others sorrowful, but all authentic. The older woman who had first spoken stepped forward again, a letter clasped in her hand. I want to share something too, she began, her voice steady even as drops of rain rolled off her chin. Each of you carries a story worth telling, and I've spent too much of my life hiding mine. Jake's heart swelled as she recounted a tale of lost dreams, of battles fought alongside a community that once felt distant. She reminded them all of the strength that lay within collective vulnerability. When she finished, the crowd erupted in applause, their spirits lifted despite the storm. Jake felt a camaraderie swell, binding them together in a shared experience. But just as they began to read more letters, a clap of thunder split the air. The skies opened up, rain pouring down harder than before. The crowd gasped, stepping back as water began to pool around their feet. Now what? Liz shouted over the din, her eyes wide with concern. Jake could feel the tremor of anxiety rising, but amid it all, something clicked. This storm was their catalyst. We embrace it, he cried, raising his voice above the storm. We stand together, just like we're doing now. Let it wash away our doubts. He reached for Liz's hand, squeezing it tightly. This is about more than our stories, it's about our future. Each drop is a reminder that we're alive, that we deserve this moment. The crowd's murmur shifted as people started to cheer, their fears melding with the rain as they all began to stamp their feet, creating a rhythm against the ground. Laughter erupted, erupting the tension, turning dread into exhilaration. What unexpected force had transformed their fear into this fiery joy? Jake felt the exhilaration rising within him, but as he locked eyes with Liz, he could see the storm reflected in her gaze too. Would this moment of unity guide them through the storm? Would they emerge stronger, ready to face whatever lay beyond the night? With a wild grin, he shouted into the rain, gathering momentum, ready to dive deeper into this whirlwind of emotions. Then, through the chaos, a figure emerged from the shadows of the gathering. The unmistakable silhouette struck a chord in Jake's memory. Who were they, and what role would they play in the unfolding story of their brave new community? The figure moved closer, their features illuminated by a sudden flash of lightning. Jake squinted, trying to make out the face that sent a jolt of recognition through him. A woman, rugged yet familiar, her silhouette wrapped in a dark, waterlogged coat. It was Sophie, his childhood friend, someone he hadn't seen in ages. Sophie! He shouted against the wind, the name a lifeline tossed into the tumult. People turned, curiosity woven into their cheers. She reached them, gasping for breath. I heard you all your words, your courage. It felt like I needed to be here. Her voice carried the weight of memories and unspoken stories. Behind her was a mix of surprise and welcome among the crowd. Liz stepped slightly back, unsure how to process this sudden arrival. Jake's heart raced. How had Sophie found her way here? He felt that old connection rekindle like the warmth of a long-lost friend. I thought you moved away for good, he managed, the rain soaking his shirt, but nothing could dampen his excitement. I did. But something pulled me back, she said, glancing up as if searching the stormy sky for answers. I've been lost for a long time. But tonight, the way everyone was sharing their stories, it stirred something in me. Jake felt the edges of his own vulnerability fray. What had he desperately hidden in the confines of his own heart? The community around them still pulsed with energy, each heartbeat sinking in solidarity. Sophie stepped into the light, her presence commanding the crowd's attention. I need to share too, she said, her voice rising like flames licking at the edges of wood. I've spent years hiding who I am, running from things I thought would break me. But I'm done hiding. Just like all of you. She focused on Liz momentarily, her gaze warm and inviting. We all carry pieces of ourselves that we shy away from. But it's time to embrace our truths. Jake smiled, feeling the shift in energy. He wasn't the only one touched by her words. The rain fell away from their hearts as they lifted in unison. People stepped closer, ears tuned in, hearts wide open. He could see Liz shifting, comforted by the authenticity surrounding her. Sophie took a breath, her composure settling like the quiet after a storm. I've faced my own doubts, my own fears. Just last week, I lost my job and felt like I was losing myself. But standing in the rain with all of you, I feel alive again. Her voice broke a little, but she steadied herself. Tonight, we strip away the layers of fear. Tonight we own our stories. The crowd erupted, and the clapping turned into chants, echoing her sentiment in wild bursts. Own our stories. Own our stories. The chant grew like a wave crashing against the shore. With each pulse of energy, Jake felt light in his chest. A part of him longed to share his own secret weaknesses, the things he'd buried under doubt. He wanted to tell them all he'd been scared, confused, and often lost. But would he find the courage? As the energy surged, he clutched Liz's hand tighter. He turned to her, his voice barely reaching above the storm. Will you come with me? For a moment she looked unsure, her face shadowed in conflicted feelings. But then she nodded, a spark igniting in her eyes. Together, with their hearts beating as one, Jake realized it was only the beginning. He knew that the power of this gathering was just a precursor to something monumental. As he made his way to the center of the crowd, heart pounding like the rain around them, he wanted to ask the questions that tethered him to doubt. What awaited them on the other side of this storm? What truths still had to be unearthed? The thunder rumbled overhead, but it was just a backdrop to the unfolding transformation. What awaited them as they took the plunge into their most profound fears? Would they emerge on the other side whole and reshaped, or would the storm tear them apart? Jake stepped forward into the swirling crowd, the storm hammering down, but all he could focus on was Sophie's brave declaration. As he walked, he felt the energy shifting, every heart was beating together, resonating with a primal rhythm. "Own our stories!" the crowd chanted again, louder this time. The words wrapped around him, offering a shield against the cold fear ripping through him. He and Liz stood side by side, united by their shared hesitation and the budding courage blossoming within them. "Wow," Liz said, eyes bright with wonder. "She's something, isn't she?" Just jumping right in. "Yes, she is. I guess we all have something we're ready to share," Jake replied, feeling the weight of her statement. It felt as if everything had led to this moment, standing at the precipice of their truths. Suddenly, Sophie pointed to the sky, her face lit up with defiance. "We are more than our fears. We are not defined by what happened to us." Jake clenched his fists. An ember of determination sparked. He could feel the stories trembling on the tip of his tongue. He glanced at Liz again, who met his gaze, her expression turning serious, urging him silently to take action. All those hidden pieces of himself, the fear and sorrow he kept locked away, hissed for release. Jake took a step forward, his mind racing. "I know exactly what you mean, Sophie," he shouted, his voice stronger than he expected. The crowd's noise lowered, turns of heads and curious eyes focused on him. "I've kept so many things to myself, scared of what others might think," he continued, his heart pounding louder than the rain. "I was scared of who I am and who I would become. I wanted to shield myself from pain, but I realized now that's how I've been losing myself." The moment hung heavy, the tension almost palpable. Jake's breath quickened, a rush of adrenaline supercharging him. He poured his truth out amidst the storm. "I lost my mom when I was young, and I built walls to keep the hurt away. I thought if I didn't let anyone in, I couldn't get hurt again. But I've been suffocating in this silence. I've been waiting for a moment like this." "Wow, Jake," Liz whispered, her face reflecting pure admiration. He took another breath and continued, emboldened by the rhythmic pounding of the rain. "It took me too long to understand that I'm not alone. I am not just my pain, I'm a mix of everything, good and bad. I want to stop pretending I'm fine when I'm not. I want to share my scars with everyone." The crowd responded with soft murmurs, some nodding, others whispering words of encouragement. For the first time, Jake felt the relief of being seen, understood. Sophie stepped back into the light, grinning triumphantly. "Exactly. We reclaim our narratives. This is our moment. Who else will join us?" He turned to Liz, and she squeezed his hand tighter, her smile warm and inviting. "Don't stop now." The words flowed like a river breaking free from its dam, and more hands shot up in the air, more voices joined, unraveling their stories of loss and courage, of love and pain. Each story poured over them like the rain, washing away the pain of hiding. Jake looked around, realizing they were all on a journey together, each word acting as a roadmap guiding them toward healing. As he watched others open up, he caught a glimpse of Liz, her face shining with vulnerability, her heart woven into this collective spirit. And just like that, he understood. This was a beginning, a beautiful symphony of truth, emotion, and bravery. But deep down, an unsettling question lingered, hovering like the dark clouds above, waiting to unveil what was next. What would it mean to truly step into their truths together? Would they be ready to face the next storm, the one that wouldn't simply pass with the rain? As the crowd's voices swelled in passionate unison, Jake felt both exhilarated and terrified. He pressed closer to Liz, feeling the electricity in the air. "I think we're on the brink of something big," he whispered, a quiver of anticipation sparking within him. And at that precise moment, amidst thunder and tales, he wondered, could they survive the fallout of their bare souls laid open? The rain hammered down, a powerful reminder of the tempest they'd all weathered, both outside and within. Jake felt the intensity of the moment surge around him. Each story shared under the relentless shower was a bead of connection, a testament to bravery and healing. Sophie stepped forward, raising her voice above the raindrops. This is the moment we need to celebrate. We're all here, and we aren't going anywhere. Who's with me? The crowd erupted in cheers and claps, their resolve intertwining, transforming the storm into a symphony of hope. Jake's heart raced as he looked around at the faces lit with determination. Liz squeezed his hand tighter, pulling him back from the edge of his own spiraling fears. You were amazing, she whispered, her eyes glistening with admiration and warmth. You really opened up. His throat felt tight, but suddenly something ignited within him. Someone needed to lead this collective healing, and so he found his voice, even amidst the downpour. Everyone, he shouted, tonight isn't just about stories. It's about coming together as a community. We can turn this storm into a foundation of strength. We're not just fighting for our past, we're here to build a future. The words rippled through the crowd like electric current, and he could feel spirits rising. Heads nodded, embrace only increasing with the urgency of their shared truths. Jake could sense the transition. They were ready to thrive, not just survive. What if we keep this going? Someone shouted from the back. Jake's heart fluttered. Let us have weekly gatherings. More open mics. Let us create a space where everyone's voices can be heard. Yes. Liz added, her excitement contagious. Let us form a committee. We can plan community events, craft nights, and storytelling circles. With each suggestion, the energy escalated. Their fears began to fall away like the raindrops cascading around them. We'll have art days. Another voice chimed in. We'll share our traditions, our stories, and learn from each other. The atmosphere shifted gears, transforming from a moment of vulnerability into one of collective power. People began to gather, exchanging contact information and ideas, a vibrant plan of action sprouting from their hearts. Each excited conversation only drew them closer together. As the storm slowly began to abate, hints of color emerged on the edges of the clouds, promises of sunshine peeking through. The crowd surged with life, a community reawakening from the ashes of despair. Jake could scarcely believe the transformation happening around him, and yet it felt so right, so necessary. As the last of the rain fell, someone in the crowd looked up at the sky and shouted, "Let us take a group photo. We need to capture this moment." Jake stood shoulder to shoulder with Liz, arms around friends they just formed that night. He felt a sense of belonging swell up inside him, a feeling he hadn't known deep down he'd been searching for. The click of the camera captured their radiant smiles, sealing their promise to uplift and support one another moving forward. As the excitement simmered down, Jake stole a glance at Sophie. Her eyes sparkled with renewed purpose, and for the first time, he could see her wearing her truths like armor. It had taken all of them stepping into the storm, confronting their fears, to reach this moment of unity. "Thank you for bringing me back," Sophie said quietly, her voice brimming with emotion. "I needed this more than I realized." Jake nodded, feeling humbled. "We're all in this together, aren't we?" The clouds rolled back, and soon, puddles reflected the new dawn breaking on the horizon. A new Maplewood was awakening, a town reborn from heart and hope. This was only the beginning, a chapter of many yet to unfold. Together as one, they could weather any storm together. They would create a legacy built on love, unity, and shared experiences. As he looked around at the faces of his friends, the pulse of the town echoed louder than ever. Here, in the heart of Maplewood, Jake finally felt at home. In the end, their stories had not only saved the town, they had saved themselves. And in that realization, Jake knew that they had forged a connection that neither corporate convenience nor doubt could ever shatter. The true spirit of Maplewood had been unearthed, vibrant and alive. As the sun broke through the clouds, he smiled, feeling a radiant warmth spreading from inside out. He didn't just embrace his true self anymore. He embraced the truth of community, the truth of family. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive stories like this one. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help the channel grow. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see and embrace their true selves. Every action counts, and only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.